we play again?
We got one person online. The workload is enough for like 10 users. I think we got a hacker.
Shall we play again?
Good morning. The time is 09:06. It is May the 9th, and this is your morning brief with Darren Manners. I was just looking around on the news right now. One interesting thing caught my eye, which was the equation group's tools. So, basically the equation group was linked to the NSA. These were the shadow brokers dump tools that were released. And so like the Eternal Blue, the MS-1710s, all those kind of things. Well, they were spotted a year earlier, apparently, being used by the Chinese espionage groups. So that's interesting. That's kind of raises a couple of eyebrows about how our tools are being released and linked and being stolen. But it goes to show if you don't control these things, then they kind of get out of hand. The other thing we've looked at, or I saw in the news, was some JavaScript injection. And this was noted, I thought quite interestingly, this has been noted on the Magento e-commerce CMS software. So what hackers are doing, they're injecting JavaScript, and they don't know quite how they're doing it right now. This is kind of new, but they don't quite know how they're injecting this JavaScript. And it's kind of like adding a skimmer to an e-commerce site. And so they inject this JavaScript, which steals usernames, passwords, credential information, credit cards, CVV numbers, those kind of things that are entered by your customers. So it's kind of a JavaScript attack. And we've seen this before. We saw this actually on the T-Mobile. We saw this on some other large high-profile attacks. So that's kind of very interesting for us to see in this JavaScript attacks. Make sure that your scripts that you are using, especially if you're using third-party scripts from other systems, if you're basically pulling in a JavaScript from a third-party hosted site, always be aware that, hey, if hackers get that third-party hosted site, then that JavaScript that you're putting in may be used. So that's kind of an interesting thing. The other point to note I've seen is obviously we're still seeing this Megacortex ransomware. So be aware. Again, they're talking about maybe now that Megacortex initial attack vector is usually AnglerKit, which is kind of like other type of malware as a dropper. And when I talk about dropper, it's basically the AnglerKit uses a couple of exploits to get onto a system. It then you could then a lot of times, and we're seeing this a lot, hackers or other hackers will rent out these systems, and so that you can put your own software. So you could rent out a couple of thousand systems that maybe enough hacker A's got, and then hacker B may use his tools or his pieces of malware to compromise those systems and do other things. So ransomware is definitely obviously a big play. Don't think hacker A would be too impressed though with hacker B ransomware in his system, because obviously now hacker A has now lost information, or he's now lost access to those systems. So, but it's all about the money, and so obviously if they're paying, they're paying. Anything else around the news? Everything else seems pretty quiet today. I mean, not that that's not quiet, but that's what that's kind of the main news, I guess, of the day. But concerning Red Spy, all our systems are up and running. I don't see any outages. I don't see any issues right now. All analysts have reported in, and so everything looks like a good day ahead. The development is still ongoing. We're still targeting beginning of June for 13.2, so everything is looking good. So that's Darren Manners' morning brief, and I hope to hear from you soon. Again, don't forget, post me questions so that we can put it on the main podcast. Thanks very much. This is today's morning brief.
Shall we play again?
We got one person online. The workload is enough for like 10 users. I think we got a hacker.
Shall we play